Next, we have Ewelina Kucal, data scientist, and Maciej Dziezyc. I hope I pronounced it good. Okay, a senior data scientist, both from SoftwareOne. They will be presenting how to encourage children to read books, LLMs for education and fun. In this session, they will share how SoftwareOne utilizes large language models and the AWS cloud to develop the book-aligned activities AI engine for Worldreader, a non-profit organization. This innovative engine generates engaging book activities for children in Kiswahili and English, dramatically reducing development time from weeks to minutes. Please welcome Ewelina Kucal and Maciej Dziezyc to the stage. Sorry for my pronunciation, please.
Yeah, okay. So as adults, we want children to read as many books as possible. But how to actually get children to read more books than usual? So today, me and my colleague Ewelina would like to tell you about the project which SoftwareOne delivered for Worldreader, a US-based non-profit organization which mission is to increase literacy of children around the world. So SoftwareOne is a consulting company which delivers solutions in software, cloud, and data AI, and specifically in Gen AI for our customers around the world.
So just to give you a little bit of the background, Worldreader is a global non-profit organization headquartered in the US that aims to improve literacy rate in developing countries. Their mission focuses on ensuring that children read at least 25 books a year with comprehension to unlock their potential. And funders believe that e-reader technology can work in the most remote areas where people have very limited access to compelling and relevant materials. And they are mostly serving communities in low-income countries such as Ghana, Kenya, or Peru with digital solutions that can improve their lives. Because when children read regularly, they tend to become more educated adults that are more likely to succeed in school, they have higher earning potential, and they become more employable adults that are vital to economy and have higher emotional intelligence and other essential cognitive and social skills. And what still shocks me is the statistic that only 1/3 of 10 years old globally can understand a simple story. And thanks to organizations such as Worldreader, this situation is changing. And over the last 15 years, they reached more than 22 million of readers in more than 100 countries, and they have ambition to reach millions more.
So this project was actually financed by AWS from the AWS Imagine Grant. So AWS chooses to finance some organizations in order to advance their cloud journey, in order to help them to deliver their mission with the cloud tools. And this is quite a generous fund, so AWS, depending on the program, can even finance up to $200,000 in unrestricted funds and $100,000 in AWS credits, so basically money that you can spend on the cloud.
So finally, how our challenge looked like and how the grant was spent for. So what you can see on the slide is a free app, Booksmart. This is a digital reading solution for children between 3 and 12 years old. And there are thousands of books on Booksmart in multiple languages. And to encourage children more, to reading, to each book they are adding the pre and post activities, like the one you can see in the bottom part. So pre-activities just to prepare child to the content of the book, and post-activity to, after reading, underline some very important thing or just give food for thoughts. And with these activities, basically, this is where the problem begins. Because there are thousands of books, and creating a meaningful book-aligned activities that is specifically aligned with the content of the book is a very labor-intense effort. And for a non-profit organization, this is definitely not a simple task. But fortunately, as we all know, LLMs excel in creativity. So our goal here was to design and build the LLM engine solution that will be able to extract text from the book, analyze it, the content, and propose a creative and meaningful activity that is specifically aligned to the content. And there are 16 categories in 3 main categories, which is grow, play, and read. And in the first phase of this project, we were focusing on 5 of them. So self-awareness, social awareness, physical, vocabulary, and reading comprehension.
Yeah, so now let's go to the solution. So before talking about the solution, probably not all of you are that familiar with AWS Cloud, so let's do some quick 101 course on AWS. So we used 4 services which are going to be important in order to understand what we did. First of those services, Amazon S3 or Simple Service Storage. This is an object storage service, or you can think of this as a file storage service. What's also important here is that we can get notifications, informations when there's some kind of a change in the S3 bucket, so like in the folders in this service. Specifically, we can, for example, get information that the new file was uploaded. We also use AWS Lambda, so this is basically a way that you can take your code, for example, Python code, put your function into the cloud, and don't care about underlying infrastructure, don't care about what virtualization and so on and so forth. You just put your code and it should basically work. We also utilize Amazon Bedrock, which among others provides a way of calling large language models through APIs. Also, we use AWS Step Functions, which is a workflow orchestration tool. So basically, this is like a glue that connects different parts of the solution and allows us to have a visibility into what's going on and any failures that happen. So first, we start with the bucket with books. We upload the book in the EPUB format to this bucket. We trigger a step function using Lambda function, and then we extract text from this EPUB file. Then we prepare a prompt to the large language model, and then we take the output from the large language model and post-process it. We basically do some kind of a sanity checks in order to make sure that what we get is more or less what we wanted. And then we store these results in the S3 bucket, which then can be consumed further by the Worldreader systems in order to incorporate them in the Booksmart. So let's decompose the solution. So first of all, the model choice. So we decided to use Amazon Bedrock API because, of course, this is one of the simplest ways to use LLMs. It provides pay-as-you-go model, so basically you pay for the input and output tokens, and there is no setup required. We use Claude 3 Opus, which was at the moment of the delivery, the state-of-the-art model for this solution. And even though this was one of the most expensive models available, we could use it because there wasn't really much of the request. There's so many books for which we have to create activities. And there was also a multilingual input, so low resource languages like Kiswahili are better served by such models. Also, there was no fine-tuning necessary. But how do you determine that some model is state-of-the-art model at the current time? So probably some of you already know that one of the methods that you can do is like quick sanity check is to go to lmarena.ai and just see what is the best model out there. So lmarena.ai works in a way that users go into this website, they put their prompts, they get two outputs from two different large language models, and they decide which is better. So you can think about this like a kind of a chess match, and that one side wins, one side loses, or sometimes there is a draw. And in that case, we can calculate an ELO score, and then this ELO score is used in order to determine what's the best model.
And one of the key aspects of our solution was a thoughtful and polished system message. A system message is a feature-specific set of instructions that are given to the AI model to direct and improve the quality and safety of the model outputs. And there are basically a couple of best practices that we can follow. Use clear and direct language. Keep instruction concise when it's possible. Emphasize certain words by bolding them. So just to put a emphasis on the key aspects, especially what models should and shouldn't do. Address the AI system using first-person language. So it's better to use phrasing such as, you are an AI assistant that does something, rather than assistant does. Build robust instructions. So it's very important for system message to operate consistently across different data sets and tasks. And last but not least, repeat more important constraint at the end, very important one, because we would like to remind model at the end, especially when the system message is quite long, about the most important rules. And this is how our system message looked like. So we ended up with quite long and elaborate one. And what were the key components? So first of all, we are defining task in the general term. Then we are explaining the pre and post activities and all the rules that they must follow. Then we have the reader context. This was very important for Worldreader because children can come from many different backgrounds. And that's why the inclusiveness was very important here. And for example, the model couldn't use wording such as parent and should wording such as grown-up instead. This is just an example, but there were many like this. And then we have book-aligned activities requirements, another set of rules that book-aligned activities must follow. And then we have a few-shot learning with several of examples about the good book-aligned activities, just to direct model how it should create its own. And at the end, we have the structure of the output as a chain of thoughts. And I mentioned that we used the few-shot learning, and basically what is zero-shot learning and what is few-shot learning. So zero-shot learning relies on the model's knowledge that it has itself. And for example, in this example on the slide, we have a short description of the movie, and we expect our model to propose and to predict the genre. And at the other hand, when we have the few-shot approach, similarly to we as human learn, we are giving the number of examples with a short description followed by the list of genres. And when the model sees the new unseen content, it will be more likely to generate the accurate, the good output.
Yes, so also it's worth mentioning that few-shot and zero-shot learning are, at least at the beginning, they were the byproduct of the training of large language models. So this was an emerging property which appeared, wasn't necessarily something which we thought about when we started training those models. And we decided to use few-shot learning because there was important to convey some kind of a consistency across those activities. So we wanted to reflect various requirements, but also to kind of get the vibe of already existing activities. Also, of course, few-shot learning means more tokens, and this means higher costs. But again, we didn't expect much requests to be sent here, so this was a fully acceptable trade-off. We also did a kind of a chain of thought. So basically the challenge which we had was that our large language model was non-compliant. So sometimes when we had a book in English, even though the instruction was clear to give activities in the same language as the book, sometimes the activities were actually given in Spanish or in other weird languages not related to the book. So we first instructed model to spell out the detected language that actually basically solved the problem for us. Also, what's important here, so when we talk about RAG systems or classical machine learning, we have some ground truths. But here, it's really hard to talk about any kind of a ground truth, because for any given book, you can come up with many activities. So it was important for us to cooperate closely with our client and as a domain expert in the field, and to ask them constantly, is this good? Are they happy with the results? And so on and so forth. So basically, we would constantly ask for the feedback, and we would improve upon this feedback.
Okay, so the outcomes. So we have here two examples of the activities generated by our solution. So this is a JSON format with some key features such as a title, a category, and this is example for the self-awareness skill for Zeros to Heroes book. And the activity. The main character in the story is good at understanding what people need. Before reading, think about what you are good at, what are your strengths. Write about or discuss with someone a time when you used one of your strengths to accomplish something. And what I like in this activity is, first of all, of course, it's aligned with the content of the book, but it gives the food for thought for a child, and just to build its self-awareness and it's, yeah, I think it's very good. And the second is from the category play. Riri and Jojo made an apple sorting machine. Gather some small balls or roll-up socks. See if you can gently toss them into a basket or box. Take a step back each time to make it more challenging. How many can you get in the row? So this one is more to connect reading with playing, with having some fun, to encourage children to read more. So as a summary, during the last couple of years, we had the pleasure to develop a number of chatbots, like LLM-powered, number of solutions with categorization, with sentiment analysis and stuff like this. But we think that this use case is very exceptional since it's like AI for good. And using the LLMs, we were able to reduce time of the activity generation from days to seconds. We also got a feedback from the person who in the past was responsible for reviewing the activities that were created by human before publishing them, that after some time she got very repetitive activities, and when she saw the activities generated by LLM, she said that they were very fresh and creative, and she said that she would never come up with some such as ideas herself. So LLMs really can do a great job in this kind of use cases. As you saw, architecture was quite simple, and that's why we were able to deliver the solution within a month. And thanks to the AI, to the AWS resources, we achieved the high value with out-of-the-box tools. And what is very important for non-profit organization, the solution was scaling to zero architecture.
Yeah, so for us, the main key takeaways from this project or this presentation is that what we did was we started small and we built it around the feedback. So we are constantly working with Worldreader in order to understand what are the requirements, what they need, what are the values they want to convey in those activities. And when we got more and more feedback, we were able to deliver better and better book-aligned activities. And also, as there was no ground truth here, it was really important in order to really have this close collaboration with a client. So we couldn't just close ourselves in a silos and then come up with a solution after a month, but we had to really talk with them, especially that they really understand what was their audience and how they want to communicate with this audience. Also, one important note is that LLMs are not only customer-facing chatbots, so they actually, I personally believe that the strongest use case for large language models is probably somewhere on the back end when large language models support people in order to deliver better outcomes, in order to do their job better. And last but not least, even though if you are working in a commercial setup, there are available funds out there in order to do AI for good, in order to do cool and wholesome projects which can actually change the world. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have 6 minutes left for the questions. Does anyone wants to ask something? Okay.
Hello. Fantastic walkthrough, thank you. Did you get any insights into how the authors are writing the books based on them going through this process and you going through this process about what makes a book more enticing to read or not? Like any other kind of ways, like for a new author who wants to write a book, like what can they learn from this process to make it more impactful for the child?
So, you want? Okay, so it wasn't a part of this analysis, it was only a month, but I think that's a very interesting idea that could be like analyzed and like a track, like having 1,000 of book, it would be good to, as you said, like track which book is more engaging and then analyze how and why. So we didn't do so, but very interesting idea.
Yeah, I would just say that if you think about large language model, it's basically an author which read all the books in the world. So, Worldreader was really surprised by how creative it is. Of course, it wasn't coming up with any kind of, storylines or something like that. But when it came to this quite simple task, it was quite actually very creative. So basically, maybe it's just to read as many things as possible in order to get better, if this is any kind of an insight we can provide.
I think that we have here one more question, right? Please. Mm-hmm.
So thank you, it's very interesting. Do you have case where the model maybe generates something that is not appropriate for children? Like, I think there should be maybe more evaluation or maybe human assessment of each generated content for this kind of applications.
Yeah, definitely. So we had this thought too, and right now we are generating 10 activities for each book, and there is, as you said, a human part of this evaluation that a person is choosing the best 3 of them, and if anything is inappropriate, of course, it won't be chosen.
Yeah, and also we, for example, once we had so it wasn't inappropriate, but we had once generated activity that said something like that, or go to the swimming pool, neighborhood swimming pool, and so on and so forth. So basically, it's rather you have to live in quite high status environment in able to go to the neighborhood swimming pool. So again, this was something which we had to balance out in the prompt. So we improved prompt after this kind of a hiccup here. But again, the main takeaway here is that we generated 10 of those activities and the person would choose them. And even that, so this person, the content manager in the Worldreader was basically doing the same work already, but with the people. And it was really hard for them to even find such people, such contractors, because this is not something which people do for a living. So, I would just come back to my notion that I really believe that enhancing people's performance is where AI can actually excel, not replacing them. And this is more about like enhancement and trying to provide Worldreader with better scalability of their mission.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Thanks for the nice presentation. I have a question. So this seems a very scalable concept. So can this be also applied to other domains for adults, like we want to read something, learn new something. So can that be useful in that case also? Or is it because for the kids, it's a small book probably, and that is why the LLMs are performing better? Or it could also scale, because even we as adults would want to learn everything new someday, every day. So could it also help us in that?
Yes, so I think actually, definitely, I think it can scale. Obviously, you know, thinking about children's book, they have rather simple language, simple storylines, so on and so forth. So definitely there is an advantage for a large language model here because they don't, it's easier to just follow it. But I think that absolutely, and actually we were talking with the Worldreader about like scaling, like thinking, for example, like like one of the managing directors in the Worldreader was talking about a use case to like, so there are parents who are incarcerated that are not necessarily have higher literacy skills. So to like use large language models as a supportive tool in order to help them to engage with children with the books. So we see a lot of potential here, a lot of potential to go beyond that, and we hope we and Worldreader will find more funds in order to do much more than we already did.
Okay. But
Hello? Hi. So I have a question. So I don't know about Worldreader so much, but I saw that there's a lot of original stories there, right? Was there any thought about or anything in the plans for using LLM models also to translate to other languages for the children, right? So you have an author, English, then you spread it out to all the different languages.
Yes, so absolutely, we are also discussing this with the Worldreader and translation. Even though I would say that there are also kind of other systems that can be used. There are translation systems specialized for translation, but large language models can also do this. And this is something we were also talking about with them in order to try to deliver this to like more communities around the world, the book content they already have. But of course, there is a risk here, so the translation might not be that good. For example, what we've noticed in the Kiswahili, when native speakers were reviewing those activities, they actually had some kind of a grammatical, they were giving a few suggestions when it comes to the structure of the sentence. So when it comes to those low resource languages, large language models might not necessarily produce like the content which is like as native in this language as it would be with the work of the translator.
Thank you.
Yeah, and definitely. So, for example, from English to Spanish, from English to French, it would work like perfectly. With the Swahili, for sure, again, it should be like a human person who is reviewing after that and checking if everything was translated like correctly. But definitely, it could be useful here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all for today. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to you for your contribution to the data science.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.